What I want to do now is give you some conversation tools, and we'll have a second conversation, and then after that I want you to compare the two conversations you've just had. In the second bit I asked you to sit with someone you don't know. Do you know the name of the person you're sitting with now?
I forgot this one, so.
What I want to do is introduce some information about a process called mentoring and coaching. You might know, has anyone done sports coaching before? No? Anyone done any coaching? Okay, it's going to be new for you. In talking about mentoring, you've just had some conversations where you're trying to describe your project to someone else. That process works better if the other person is listening, and if they're asking questions, which is called active listening. And when I say listening not just to the words that are coming out, but to the body language, how people are noting, their facial expressions. If they say they really like something, does the voice sound as though they really like something, or they're just saying they really like something? So it's clues that you normally would pick up in conversation, but in listening as someone is describing a project, it's about stepping back a bit almost and watching them while you're listening. It's really demanding. So in part of mentoring a project, which is what I'm building to, there are a whole heap of things that I'll get you to do to help you clarify a question, which is what your project needs to come out in the end. For this course, you have to ask a question. It might be someone was talking about making a computer game. Can I make a computer game that other people want to play? That might be your question. Your question will develop and change as the year goes by. So whatever your project idea is or thing you want to research, it'll end up as a question. And what you're going to help each other do is clarify that question, allow the question to grow and develop and change and end up with something that becomes the focus of your project. Mentoring is about helping someone to help themselves. You're not there to say, that's not what you should be doing this. That's not mentoring. Mentoring is helping the person to see that if that's what they end up saying. So it's through some conversation, so talking, you've just done that. It's through active listening, which leads to questions. So in listening to the other person, you're looking for clues. So they might say that in the past I did 3D Max and that was really good. And so in the tone of that you say, well, really, they must have thought it was really good. They just didn't say I did 3D Max last year and it was okay. If they say it's really good, then you might say, why was it really good? What did you find about it that was really good? You don't have to say, oh, you did 3D Max so well. It's not about you, it's about them. So you're listening to them, looking for emotional clues in their body language and tones, not just the words. As we develop this, there's a thing called a metacognition toolbox, big word, which just means we'll give you some tools to help you do that. From the way that some of you are nodding now, I'm thinking that you actually understand what I'm talking about, and you do it already. But it's about being a bit more focused about it, I guess. What's your role when you're mentoring? Well, it's not being a student. You're not a student in the class anymore. If you're listening to someone describe their project and you're trying to help them, help themselves, the mentoring role, then you're not a student. You're not a teacher either. You're a mentor. That's what the role is called. You might be a peer, so you might be a friend to that person, but your principal role is mentor. Hang on. Peer meaning someone else in the class, not a mate. You're not an expert. So someone says, yeah, I'm interested in doing a game with 3D Max, and you say, oh yeah, well last year I did this is how you did it, and I did this, and you should do that. That's not it. They're the focus, not you. The tool that I'm going to give you now is called Growth Mentoring or Coaching. Growth is just an acronym, it stands for a set of words. So I'm going to give you a page in a moment. The first word, the G, stands for goals. So in helping the person develop their idea for their project, we're going to ask, what do you need to achieve? What do you hope to achieve? What's your goal? And I heard many of you describing goals. clear you had in your head, or you didn't know how to do it. Some of you don't have a goal yet. Then there's the reality. What's happening now? So I've heard a couple of people say, I've got some 3D Max skills, I've got some graphic skills, and I want to do a game, but I haven't got a clue how to go about it. So the reality now is, I've got a set of skills, I know I want to do a project, but the reality is I'm stuck really. I don't know how to go further forward. As a mentor, you might then ask the person, okay, what options have you got? What could you do? So for the 3D Max person in games, it may be that they could go to the web and look at some 3D Max projects that people have done. Google 3D Max and games and see what they've done. So something to actually give some options for choices. So you talk to the person about what could you do. At that point in the discussion, it's a loose conversation, but to really help a person move ahead, because this is week 2, next week's week 3, week 4, 30 weeks in a year, that's really. The time is ticking. So you want to help the person to actually move on, some kind of commitment. So you ask them, what will you do next? It's to help them say, okay, I've got these options, I'm going to pick one of them. Which one? The next one is to ask them, how are we going to do it? So I said, yeah, okay, my next step is to do the following. So you say, okay, when are you going to do that? So they might say, tomorrow, next week. Yes. And the last one I'll leave.